Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Event Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to sort of pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women brand marketers today. And with me is Shana Krisan, and she is the Chief Marketing Officer at Goldfish Swim School franchise. So welcome, Shana.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you could do this. And you know, we I heard very good things about you. So I'm excited too. We haven't actually met aside from virtually, so I'm really happy to learn more about you. Sort of, as I say, peek behind the curtain. So
Intriguing proposition. So I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, no, me too. And I always do my snooping when I am going to be talking with someone, and of course, I did with you. And the Goldfish Swim School page, it talks about pursue your passion for something more. So what I want to ask you, what Shana's passion is, not work, what your passion is, and have you pursued it?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I don't think my passion is anything all that complex. I really try to surround myself with people and projects and work that makes me feel good, right? Like my career is something that makes me feel good as a person. It makes me feel good. So as a contributor, as a provider, as a friend, as a mother, it's really all about the whole person for me. So I think that's a great question. And I really look to seek to uncover new things and new opportunities that are always going to enhance that life that I live and the contribution that I can provide. So as far as pursuing my passion for something more, I think maybe as I've gotten older, I believe a little bit less in the idea of pursuing different things for my work life and my personal life, and really taking my career up a notch as part of my entire life. So I don't know that there's a balance there that I'm trying to achieve between the two. I love my personal life. I love my work life. I love the people that I get to surround myself with, the ideas I get to share, and the conversations I get to have. So that kind of all comes together for me as just my life. And it's a pretty cool life. And I love both sides of it. So I'm going to continue to pursue those passions and those things that can amp up that part of my life that I love.
Well, it sounds like your passion is just life in general. It's just about pursuing the best life you can have. And it seems like, which I feel like as when we first start out, in our 20s, which I want to actually ask you about that in a second, but I feel like it can evolve, whether it's, what you think is so important, maybe is less important, or is important, but in a different way. And you sort of said that with now you want to more combine your work-life balance as opposed to maybe keeping it separate early on. Do you feel like that's something that's evolved as you've gotten older and experienced more?
Yeah, I'm a few decades away from my 20s. So I think that, yes, what we all heard when we were in our 20s, and what I think still a lot of people hear, is that you're supposed to try to find that work-life balance, and you need to demand it of your personal life to have room for your professional life, and you have to demand it from your professional life to have time for your personal life. And to me, my passion it runs between both, and so it kind of all comes together, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah, no, and I think but it's a matter of maybe you've gotten a better handle on it,
Yes.
in terms of, so you can sort of coordinate it more so, and that's why you can kind of now, see it more seamlessly.
Definitely.
But no, I love that everything was like, I love my life, like I love that. Like it's just, there's things that sometimes you talk with people and it's just like, oh, I need to struggle through this, or I need to, and I'm not saying that, obviously no one's life is perfect, but that you sort of, it sounds like you take it in stride.
I try to. I think we all become a little bit more patient and understanding of the world around us and ourselves over time. So you can let a little bit more go, maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's awesome. And as I said earlier, I do want to get into when you were just starting out and maybe things weren't so black and white, or, what you were looking for. And we'll just even talk about that when you graduated. I mean, I know you started on the agency side and then gradually, crossed over to retail. And then I believe you were at a wellness company, and now, of course, Goldfish Swim School franchise. And did you what were you thinking? What were you envisioning when you were, that senior ready to graduate from college? Was the marketing career what you were looking at, or how did it all evolve?
Absolutely not. It's definitely taken an evolution, and really it takes a bit of trial and error. And I think that that's true for anybody, really, and an understanding of marrying the passion that you have with also coupling that with what you actually do well. And that takes some time, and it does take some trial and error. I've always been pretty practical and carved out some stability for my life. So I didn't really have big dreams of, being a dancer or an astronaut or an actor. I was thinking business, which is just, when you're born in 1970 and you really want to break through that glass ceiling, every single book that was out there, that's what you thought you should do. And so that's what I thought I should do. I quickly realized that I could barely pass the accounting and finance classes, and I was never going to get past statistics. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I didn't enjoy any of it. What I really enjoyed was my communication classes, my sociology classes, my journalism classes, but I just didn't know, from being a practical person, how that was going to translate into a career.
Mhm.
So, coming out of college with a degree in communications and minors in socialism and or sociology and journalism, it's what am I going to do with this? So you do what you do. You ask the people. This was also the early 90s, not a great time to get launching a career. So you turn to your family and friends, and I was lucky enough to get an introductory course really in marketing through a wellness company, a pretty well-known wellness company in Michigan. And I was packing kits, I was answering telephones, I was doing all the administrative work. But what I really realized I loved is I loved working with the salespeople. I loved that they were all very different people, and that my interactions with them were really different. So of course, that in retrospect now harkens back to how much I love communications and sociology and people. So it all started to kind of make sense and evolve for me over time. I ended up being able to parlay that into an advertising position, very entry level again. So I started to add on advertising and realized this is pretty cool too. At that time, we really had television, radio, and billboards, and that was pretty much it. But it was exciting, and again, getting to know so many different people and really starting to understand what branding was and the implications of marketing on branding. And it took me some time, but I was good at it, and I loved it. And that's where that cross section came. Just understanding what you could do from a passion perspective, but also from a perspective of understanding who you are and what you like.
Yeah. And I do think that to be honest, 'cause I was the journalism communication major and a minor in sociology.
Wow.
I actually was going to do like a minor in business, and like you,
Mhm.
which to my father's dismay, who is a CPA account, like he was a treasurer, and I just could not. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this isn't working, and it's not what I enjoy. And so, and it is a more difficult career. I did happen to have good friends who were wanting, accountants and wanting, and so for them out of school, they had a headhunter, they had this, and to pursue a marketing career or a journalism career, it's not, you don't have that. It's sort of, you have to kind of figure it out and weed through it. But I do think, and it's something I've talked with other women about, you starting in a position that you're getting hands on to a lot of different things. It can,
Yes.
because there are a lot of different ways to pursue marketing or pursue advertising. And there are a lot of different types of positions, more creative, some areas, some maybe more business oriented. And so I think, do you feel like having that sort of helped you frame why you're happy where you are today?
Yes, I think one of the things that I had to learn really early on is I couldn't quite figure out what I knew. I loved that, but I didn't know what in that I loved. I was certainly not going to be the person that was going to do the graphic design. It was really before the advent of big social media or digital media. I didn't really know what area of it that I was going to excel in. And I thought that the only way to really be successful in marketing was to find that one big thing that I was the best at. It took me a long time to realize that being a little bit more of a strategist or a generalist or somebody that can really look at the big picture and tie it all together is a skill set. So I think I beat myself up for a long time, and it took me a little bit longer to get to the fact that there is a career path, obviously. I just didn't know, I didn't understand it from the beginning.
It's not always as cut and dry for certain
Right.
industries. I mean, I just
Mhm.
feel like there's just different kinds of, you want to be a doctor. You kind of know which way you got to go. And in the same, even an accountant, maybe there's different types of organizations you can work for, but at the same point, there's a certain path. I feel like it's very, as I always find talking with a lot of women like yourself, it's very zigzaggy, and it's just trying to get to, just keep evolving and sort of figuring out where is the next step for you. So,
Yeah, the entire time, the entire process, I would come up with something that I think, well, if I can just pull this in, or I can pull that in, or if I can integrate this or think about it differently. And I honestly thought I'm the first person to ever think of that, right? And then I would start to talk to other people and realize it's only because I don't have a background in it that I didn't realize this is kind of the journey they took, or these different people understood going into it. So it took me a little longer to get there, but I'm here.
so what would you say to a woman starting out, young woman starting out, or a young person starting out, and again, sort of knowing where their talents lie, where their interests lie, but not necessarily knowing exactly the point? You said you sort of had to figure it out. You didn't know certain things. What do you suggest for that person, so maybe they don't go through some of the difficulties that maybe you faced early on? What would be your advice?
Surround yourself with the right people, surround yourself with the right brand, surround yourself with the right company that is going to surround yourself with the right leaders that are going to push you. They aren't going to just give you a job description and say, here's what you're going to do every day. They're going to invest in you. They're going to see not only what you do well, but who you are as a person, maybe areas you don't even know that you'll excel in, but because they've been there, they can see that in you, and then they're going to help you chart that course. I just think it's so important to have people on your side that can help nurture some areas in you that you don't even know you have. And I have a great team. I have an amazing team, and I have people that came straight out of college, and a number of them that are still with me because that's what we did. Marketing is so vast and it's changing so often that if somebody really loves an area in marketing, I can almost bet you we can find you a place that will not only help you grow as a person, it'll help our department, it'll help our company. So if that can be said, by all means, let's move you around, let's adjust your responsibilities, let's do what's going to be best for you, for the team, and for the company. So find people that want to do that with you and not just to you.
Yeah. Well, and I think you made a good point in the sense it's always changing. So I
Yeah.
think another key quality is you need to be ready to change all the time, and maybe even jumping in, not always waiting for someone to say, okay, give you this opportunity. I mean, I think as a leader who does that is so valuable, but I also think as the person, say, hey, I was always interested in writing a press release or doing whatever, or getting into graphic design. So let me try doing this and see if then this works for you. And then that, you'll be able to move into that type of position. So I think it's
100%. So important. I think more than anything else, we have a job description, right? We all know what we need on our teams, and we all have to go out and find people that kind of specialize in that. But outside of that, everybody should look for people that are thinking really holistically, like people that really want to look at the issue or the problem or the circumstance that you're in, and they're going to come with ideas. And that doesn't mean people that have 20 years of experience. That can be people straight out of college that have a different perception and different reality and are just think differently than other people on the team. And all of those kinds of thoughts and ideas are what combined really make a strong team. So it's one of the first things I look for above anything else is this a person that really has a problem solving mindset and a holistic vision in their lives.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I'm curious because I know you mentioned you did struggle a little trying to find your way, but was there ever really a big challenge, a challenge that you faced that really, it was almost got, like, okay, what can I do? How can I even get past this? And has there been a moment like that? And, and if you got past it, how were you able to manage that?
Balance in general is very, very difficult. I'm a mom of a 24-year-old. I'm divorced now, but I was a wife. I have friends. I have family. I was young when I started. I didn't really know where I was going. All of it. I mean, all of it. Where you come from, everything. Trying to find that balance to be able to really give it your all from a different perspective than somebody else has, and figure out where your work and your life can kind of come together and coincide, so that you're not overemphasizing or over correcting for one area. I think I had trouble with that, most certainly, especially when I had my son, and peeling back a little bit and deciding I worked so hard. I worked at an agency at the time, and I was putting in a lot of hours, and I knew in order to be a mom and the kind of mom I wanted to be, I didn't know how to balance it all. So finding what worked for me and not necessarily subscribing to the traditional idea of what people should do or listening to others. You have to know yourself, but find that balance that works for you, as opposed to, again, taking somebody else's idea of what that should be or what that should look like.
So it sounds like you almost set yourself up to get through whatever challenges are thrown at you early on. I mean, maybe you learn to do that. Maybe that, what, as you said, you had certain times when maybe it wasn't as easy, but to create that world, of that gives you that strength. So when you do hit that real big impasse, you can kind of look to whatever side is going, whether it be your professional side or personal side. Was there a challenge, a specific challenge that you faced where that really played you well, that made you'd be able to kind of get through it because you had that kind of balance?
I think I'll say lucky that flexibility has always kind of had to be a part of my life, just my upbringing. So I think that I hope my son never watches this. Unlike my son, you try to do better for your children than you had, right? So I think I never really let a lot of rain fall in his life, so he doesn't always know how to solve a lot of problems. I had issues early on, and I had problems to solve early on. So I think it just lended to my flexibility and my ability to pivot. And if something's not working, well, 800 different ways to solve that problem are going to go through my head. What's the best solution for that? And so I think if you have that mindset, or if you develop that mindset, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be problems. And I had just as many as everyone. Being a woman in the industry is tough sometimes. Yeah, I had some of those same issues, but what can you do about it? And what can you do about it that's really going to help drive you forward and make your life better?
Yeah, you sound a little bit, I feel like for myself, I need a plan. You know what I mean? Like whatever you're going to hit me with. And it's like, once I get a plan because I'm the optimist, I'm the, always. And so once I have a plan, like, all right, this is going to work. And then maybe it doesn't, but by the time you figure out it doesn't, there'll be something else. Like, I don't know. That's sort of how I am able to sort of navigate through those kind of times. Because, as you said, we all face them. So, but it seems like you're a little bit like that too. Like you need that plan and then you move forward.
I will have a plan. I don't necessarily feel like I need a plan. I feel like if I have a superpower, it is, what, that plan didn't work the way that I had it boarded out in my head. And so I can pivot on it. I can figure out the next best move. It's a problem solving mindset that I really think helps out a lot. Marketing it's replete with issues, right? Things are going to go wrong. Things are not going to work out the way you thought. Campaigns, ads, everything in marketing can change and turn on a dime. We're the ones that are generally responsible for public relations and crisis management. Those are all really important areas to be able to say things aren't going to always work out. How can we kind of keep cool heads and figure out the next best option to the one we had planned? And I'm not a big fan of consistency. It's probably why I love marketing so much. I'm very internally organized, but I'm externally a little bit of a hot mess. So I like things being different. I like the challenges. I like the changes, and I'm comfortable being a little uncomfortable, I guess.
Yep. No, I think that's probably indicative of a lot of people in this industry, in terms of that side of things. Because if you're looking for stability, it's not the business to be
Go
in.
somewhere else. Definitely
Yeah, I
go
mean,
somewhere
it's
else.
funny. Because I'm always, on LinkedIn looking at, people like yourself who are very successful in the industry, and you 3 years here, then maybe 2 years here. Like that's not a norm for other industries. For the accountant, they're like maybe same place for 20 years or whatever it may be. But in our industry, or I mean, now my industry as well, more journalism in the past, but it's okay, you're on a show or you're in a brand, and then all of a sudden you switch over to the next or the next. And I mean, do you think that, I mean, because I know sometimes it is because it just works out that way, but I think you're looking, do you think in order to be in this career, you're always kind of looking, not that you're not happy where you are and doing what you want, but to get to that next level and get to that next step, is that kind of a requirement to move up the ladder within, the advertising marketing industry?
I think maybe it used to be. I think that, yes, you would outlive the stage or the role that you had back when. But now I just think that marketing is moving so fast. If I don't like something one day, that's okay, because it'll change tomorrow. If I do like something one day, don't get used to it, because it's going to change tomorrow. So I think even now, in our own roles, in our own companies, things are changing and moving so fast that you don't necessarily have to look for your next challenge, because every day is going to present you with a new challenge, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, no, that's true. And just as you said earlier, just be ready to pivot and deal with that next change or whatever is going on.
Definitely.
Is there something that people get wrong about you when they first meet you, or maybe they know you but not really know you?
Yeah, embarrassingly enough, I think that it's hard to say, but I get a lot from strangers, people that just first meet me, and even vendor partners, that I'm unapproachable. I think that a lot of that's what you just said. I hold a lot in my head. There's always 100 things going through it. I tend to run around. I've always overextended, and I might look really intense, and I'm moving fast. And so people might not think that I want them to stop me and have a conversation with me, or that I'm too busy to deal with interpersonal exchanges, or even, like I said, strangers will tell me, like, I've walked by strangers where they'll say, smile. And I think, what do you mean smile? I have places to go. I have things on my mind. Or maybe it's just my face. I don't really know. But let's squash that one right here. I am very approachable. I love to talk to people. I like to exchange ideas. So yes, being busy a little bit sometimes, and just being a woman on a mission can sometimes make me maybe look like I don't enjoy having conversations or trading ideas with other people.
Yeah. What area are you from? What part of the country?
I'm from West Michigan. So between Kalamazoo, which is always a fun word to say, and Grand Rapids, a very small town in West Michigan.
Okay, because you're talking a little bit East Coast, West Coast. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very East Coast, and
Yes.
the things that I had to sort of adapt to being on the West Coast, because I'm very to the point, when I don't know. So so I was just curious if you had that more East Coast mentality, but Michigan, like, not real.
Yeah, no, we're supposed to be the really, friendly Midwesterners, and I think I am. So maybe that's,
you are, but no,
maybe I come off
I
East
feel
Coast.
like I'm friendly as well. Like,
Yeah.
but at the same point, I'm sure, like, when I'm on doing what I need to be doing, I'm very much, just get to the point. I don't need to have a conversation at the grocery line. Just thank you and pleasant, but all of that. So I just, but again, it's nothing wrong with, like, I think it's so wonderful that people are enjoying that and doing that. And I do sometimes sit there and be like, oh, just do it. But it's like, it's so not me.
If you're a man listening to this, it is very misogynistic to walk past a woman and say, smile. I've heard smile, you'll look prettier. I've heard smile. Yeah, it's just, I'm not here to make your day with how friendly and smiley I am. I mean, it's just a bad thing to do.
I totally agree with that. I've been myself one or two times, so
Yeah.
I agree. But so I'm curious, do you have a guilty pleasure when you just want to kind of close the doors and just...
Wine is always a guilty pleasure for me. As I mentioned, I have a 24-year-old. So when I want to just get away from it all, just going back to those mom roots and helping him and getting things done. I've been very well known to just strap on the couch and watch an entire series of Netflix, usually with that wine. I need to shut my brain off at some point. It's not very easy for me to do most of the time. So some of my guilty pleasures are definitely, how do you shut your brain off, and how do you get away from it all? Spending time with friends and just doing the things. I feel like this is more like a interview for a dating app or something. Long walks on the beach. Why? Yeah.
I love dogs and
You're right. Yeah.
so, well, no, I'm with you for the wine. So I usually like to throw in a little chocolate, but cheese and chocolate. That's
It's right there. Yes.
definitely there. I'm curious when we talk about, agent advertising marketing specifically and brands and in how they respond to cultural moments. I know we've been experiencing a lot more of that, especially over the past few years. And it's always been sort of there, but not necessarily, like people maybe make comments, brands and have a voice for certain things, but I feel like we're hearing more of that and seeing more of that. What do you think is the role of a brand when it comes to culture and just injustices or just things that are going on, getting involved in being a voice for groups that maybe don't have that?
Yeah. It's such a tough question because I think the type of brand you are plays a significant role in that. But yes, I think all brands have a significant role in influencing culture. Hence the enormous rise of the brand influencers, right? I mean, just they themselves can influence the way that people think about things, what they're buying, what they're doing, different services that they want to partake in, good or bad, or actually good and bad. Usually brands can really help shape those trends in popular culture, and by the sheer nature of the advertising we do, if done right, brands work consumers all the way through that marketing funnel that we all like to talk about so much, all the way from awareness to action. So the information that we put out there, if you're doing what you need to do from a brand perspective to be followed by a target audience, you are most certainly going to have an influence on that market. So I do think it's important to know who you are, what your mission, your vision, your values are, and make sure that they're in line with the audience that you're selling to. So yeah, in so many ways, but I think especially since influencers have really come on with such veracity, they themselves being a brand, play such a big, have such a big impact on
Yeah.
culture and on trends and on style.
That's even, when you look at the brands and who they need to tie themselves with in terms of an influencer. And we've definitely seen mistakes or where there's been blowback because maybe they went for the numbers, as this person has the most followers, but then it turns out that that's not necessarily the right person to be representing that particular brand. So I think what you said is, it's very much about aligning yourself with those who are authentic to you or to the brand.
And authentic is exactly what it is. I think if you really have a good feeling for your brand and you know who you are, and again, those missions, visions, and values, you have to find and you have to vet out really significantly anybody that you do align yourself with. We're really lucky to have some really great brand ambassadors for Goldfish. And but we looked at it and we're very, very careful about it because it has a big impact on the consumer and what they're watching us do and what they're watching our brand influencers and our ambassadors do. So yeah, we don't take that lightly. It's very important.
Yep. So, okay. So if you weren't a marketer, what would you be? What would plan B be?
Well, it's not an astronaut. We said that. Can't be a dancer, and I don't think I would be a very good actor. I would probably go into sociology and psychology, and for all the reasons that I mentioned before, I think the people are so interesting, and the way that they look at things differently is so compelling to me, which is, again, a big part of marketing these days. Research, understanding the consumer, all of that is so key to being effective in our roles. But I'd sit back in the chair and have somebody lay on the couch and take the notes.
Good. So, maybe in your next life, I'll be calling you and
All right.
I'll be the one, you'll be the one asking the questions and I'll be
There
telling
we
you
go.
what I'm thinking. And just the last question, aside from being a psychologist, what's any, bucket list or things you want to check off your list, going forward or in the future and aspirations?
I really love what I do, and I really love my life, and I feel like I'm such a Pollyanna positive right now, which is not a bad thing. But I don't feel the need like I used to go out and find the next big thing. I can do so much good where I am personally and where I am professionally. And as long as I'm improving and learning and growing and can help others do the same thing, I am really happy to continue the life that I have. So no, I'm pretty darn content right now.
That's awesome. That's a good thing to do. So
Yeah.
Jenna, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. You as well.
And don't forget to smile. And thank you for watching. And as I always say, if you have someone you want me to interview, find out more about, please let me know and I will do my best to get them. So thanks again, Jenna.
Thank you.